everyone. Oh, I think there's a background noise here. 1 second, let me sort that out. Uh, Cancel. Hello? Okay, so that's fixed. Hello, everyone. You are welcome once again to another episode of webinar episode. Today is a special one. As usual, we always have something special going on this platform. That's why I always advise that we don't miss it, because you never know what's going to happen next. So, but today we're having what they call a review of all we've done so far since the beginning of this year. So, it's going to be an interactive session all through. So nobody's going to bore you with too much lectures or presentations and all that. So in handling this situation, I'm going to hand over to our training director, Mr. Victor Ademofe, to carry on from here. You have the floor, sir.
Hello, everyone. So nice to be here once again at the 10th edition of our webinar. It's amazing. This is the 10th edition. We've had the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, till the 10th. So we are very grateful that we are still kicking. All right, just a quick synopsis of what we've done so far. We started the event with considering a subject matter that is quite important, especially for trumpet players in this part of the world, Nigeria, which is trumpet player as a worship leader. Why that is important for us is because Nigeria as a nation is a very religious nation, and at the same time, many of the trumpet players in Nigeria find themselves to play in churches or church-related events, and we started on that note. And I remember that our facilitator, Pastor Jimmy Olulani, expounded the super insight and the inspirational and revelational thoughts to us, which I'm sure many of us have not been able to recover from. One of the highlights is that being a trumpet player is very important if you want to do gospel music or be a worship leader, to first understand that it is a sacrificial ministry. The sacrifice I mean here is not that you sacrifice your, life or sacrifice, but it's actually a sacrifice of life. You sacrifice your time because you want to worship the Yahweh himself. And it is not an opportunity for us to be lazy. Being a trumpet player thinking that, it is the lowest level of music presentation or expressivity. No. If you still play trumpet well, there's a way that when you have the proper foundation and playing well, it aids, this flow. It aids what you call the spirit worship. It aids it. So I remember that after then we moved to the foundation of trumpet playing that was facilitated by Ayo Akinduro. And in this speaking, he was talking about the pivot, he was talking about the upstream, the low stream, and he gave us great examples of how musicians or trumpet players should understand where they belong. Because if you do not know where you belong, you'll be frustrated. Today you are there, tomorrow you are there. It's just to understand your type. And when you understand your type, it makes trumpet playing easy and effortless. We moved down to scales and arpeggio that was facilitated by Ms. Anu Ashoyi. And it defined what scale is. It gave us examples, even telling us there are multiple scales. And it was very insightful. We moved to organizational structure, and the highlight of that was using the Navy and the paramilitary as an example, where we talked about cadres and levels and how things are done. Because trumpet playing is quite, the use of trumpet playing is very, very conspicuous in that regard also. We moved to also the 50th edition. We talked about worship. The trumpet player as a worship leader that was facilitated by our dear brother Goke Bajora. And he also dug deep, trying to tell us how trumpet players should prepare themselves, how trumpet players should understand that what they are into is a spiritual thing. It talks about how to be disciplined, and it emphasizes a whole lot of elements that can actually help us. We moved from here to the 6th edition and talking about skills and arpeggio that was facilitated by the Vice President of America, especially Olumumento, Sheikh Led. And they still expanded the use of scales and arpeggio, which we can't finish talking about. It is too elaborate to finish even in this year. And it talks so much about it, how to use it, applications, and all of that. And then we had a guest at the 7th edition, Dr. Cynthia Carroll. We talked about tone, and she emphasized about she said tone is the quality of sound. She also talked about these 3 qualities that determine tone. Talked about the oral cavity. She talked about the airflow. She talked about the embouchure. I'm sure for those who have watched this, if you have taken the lesson seriously, and you would have seen drastic improvement in your playing thus far. I mean, if you have not watched that, or you have not taken the advice and the suggestions she displayed, I would encourage that you go back watch that video. We moved on to the 8th edition, where Dr. Kunoji talked about the prospect of being a trumpet player, and he gave us an idea of how the generation we live in right now cannot depend on being a trumpet player alone. From his perspective, he feels that to be a trumpet player, you should add 1 or 2 things more to help you to be able to survive in this time, because after COVID, many things changed. I mean, music generally all over the world, everything changed. And for those who understand that we are in this generation of AI, artificial intelligence, many of the things you think you can do on the trumpet, I mean, they can do that on the computer. So he was soliciting and suggesting to us that it would be nice to do more, even as trumpet players. Maybe you can become film directors, maybe you can become lecturers. I mean, it's just to have side hustle and something that can be used to complement what you do as a trumpet player. And looking at it from this perspective, you know, from the part of the world that I live, there used to be a time where a song is never complete without honor. But that generation it's fading away. Hardly will you see any hit song in Nigeria as a country, or maybe in West Africa, or in the entire Africa, that is art-dominated. Things are changing, things are evolving. So if there's a need for trumpet players to see what they can do, and they can also go into music, business, music, these were the things we talked about. And then last week we had our president who gave a very robust and the foundational musical element which any trumpet player and every trumpet player who wants to succeed as a trumpet player must never neglect. It talks about phrasing and the phrases, because to play phrases or to even play well, an in-depth understanding of phrasing is important, is a requirement that cannot be overlooked. I mean, about 22 years ago, thereabouts, when I first met him, and that was the first time I went to his house for lessons, and this was what he taught me. It's 22 years ago, phrasing. And this is the way I see this phrasing now. You know, as we talk, if we have to dissect the words that we speak, you will realize that there's staccato in what we say, the legato in it. The ability to communicate effectively is a combination of the legato, the staccato in one. See, as I'm speaking right now, I'm not conscious whether I'm doing staccato or doing legato. But then because I've mastered the musical alphabet or the speech alphabet, A for apple, B for balls, I've done that too, and all of you have done that. So with the way it is with speech, so it is with playing the trumpet. So there's a need to master how to articulate these words because they call it phrasing. If we break it in a unit, you will see that it is actually from a phrase. It's called phrase. What is phrase in English? It's an incomplete sentence. And you cannot make a sentence without first putting words together. You cannot put words together without putting letters together. So if we take it back to the root, it comes back to understanding how to put words together, how to put stress. Because it's about understanding the speech. And that's entirely what trumpet is all about. Because if you have the same grasp of that, your trumpet playing will be effortless. It's like you have effortless mastery. And now today, what we'll be doing is, I haven't recounted everything we have done from the first edition to the 9th edition, and today is the 10th edition, which is a review of what we have done thus far. So, I talked about what trumpet player as a worship leader, the foundation of trumpet playing, skills and arpeggio 1, organizational structure, worship as trumpet player as a worship leader. Again, we have scale and arpeggio 2, we have tone matters, we have the prospect of a trumpet player in the 21st century. Last week we had the foundation of trumpet playing. So these are the things we've done thus far. So if you have any question that you would like to ask, or there's something you've been trying to work on and you don't seem to get headway, or there's a statement that one of the facilitators, something, a sentence, something they said that it is not clear, or there's something that is clear to you but you just need clarification more. So this is that moment where we can talk about what we have done for 9 weeks. So the floor is open for anyone who has a question. But before then, I would like to ask if the president has something to say. Okay, while we wait for him, so if you have any questions, okay, the president is here, and may want to say one or two things because we have seen the webinar from the first to the night, so you may want to add something. The floor is yours, sir. You are muted, sir.
You're muted, sir.
I'm sorry. The show actually belongs to our chief training officer today. He's still going to teach his class later. This is just to review, and he's such a qualified person to do all these reviews because what is happening is actually under his purview as the one in charge of training. So I agree with everything that he has said, and I know that as time goes on, then question and answer, some of us will be able to answer some of the questions that members are going to put, and everybody is going to put across. We are all here. Thank you very much.
Hello.
I finished. I finished.
Hello? You can go ahead. You're on, sir. Sorry? I think... Mr. President, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you hear him at all? I can't hear him.
I think his microphone is
shaking.
Yeah. Yeah. You can go on.
All right. So,
Yeah.
having said all of this, we have had 9 sessions thus far. So, if you have any questions to ask on any of the topics that we've done for these 9 weeks, please you can go ahead and ask. But while people are writing their questions, I would like to say something about scales and arpeggio, which I think in the coming week or in the coming weeks, we will have people to still expound on that. So for scales and arpeggios, this is almost like the foundation of expressivity. Because every song that you hear, it is first taken from that pool. Scale is like a pool from where you take, that bucket of water. Every song is taken from from a scale, and then understanding the scale and the possibilities that we can utilize is very crucial. Many times people just play the scale, which is very nice. But then there are possibilities. What you can do is examine all the possibilities that you can think of. That is what gives you, or that is what gives birth to mastery of a scale. Let me just share with you a particular scale, maybe a Dorian scale, for example. A Dorian scale, when many people play it, they try to relate it as re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re. And I'm sure that in one of our sessions here, especially when we are having question and answer, I can't remember, maybe the second or the third edition, but we are talking about, somebody raised the question of relating minors. And I said that I do not relate minor. Because as a minor tonality, I play minor as minor, I play major as major. Because if I relate minor as major, I am limited. Because I'll still be sounding as if I'm playing a major. And it's a lot of work for me. I tried to do it many years, but I see that when I take it in its exact form, like do, re, mo, the possibility that I can come up with is far bigger, far sweeter, far more interesting than when I relate it. So, and my brain is doing less work. And this is me, it is my opinion. It may not work for another person, except you practice it. Everything anyone knows, we know because we practice. So, I will express that. I'll play that shortly, and then while I wait for questions, that some of the ESCOs, Mr. Batik is here, Mr. Ron is here, and some other people will be joining us, so we'll be able to answer this question. So, basically what I'm trying to do is just to play around the minor, the Dorian scale, the Dorian mode. And I'm not relating it, I'm seeing it as do, re, mo, fa, sol, la, si, do. And after that, I'll talk about arpeggio and how we can develop that. And one of the ways you can begin to learn this is by taking the first 3 Or you can do interval. Okay, let's start with interval. What is an interval? Interval is the distance between two notes. And or distance between two pitches. You know. Let's say from do to mi. For those who understand letter, you can say do from C to E flat, from D to F. Okay, I'll give you an example of what I mean. That's an interval of chord. So if you practice this on all the keys, and you do it diligently, you'll be shocked that, people think it's just an exercise. As simple as it is a phrase, it is a solo, it can be inculcated, it can be used anytime. And I will explain to you how you can fragment this. So I'm just using this opportunity to talk a bit while we wait for some questions, So let me try interval fourth. If you practice this diligently again, you will realize that, as a matter of fact, playing in fourth, it is not natural with us to play in fourth. I'm playing in fourth as a specific sound that it brings. And a master of this is, my Davis initiated something many years ago, and they call that the quarter harmony. But many of us who play, what we do basically is we play in thirds. And this third is called a tertian. It's a tertian approach. So the harmonies that are stuck in thirds are called tertian harmonies. So many of us, every phrase we hear, when you see somebody playing beautiful phrases, if you dissect it, you will see that the elements of that phrase is usually in thoughts, because that is the way a Western approach, and it's prevalent. That's the way they think until the 1950s and 50s, when men got tired of playing like that, and they wanted to just try something different, and it gave birth to the fourth approach. But still, we don't do that because it is very difficult to master. And again, when you begin to play in fourth, sometimes it sounds, hey, what are you doing, man? But it's a very, very, very beautiful sound if you can master it. So let's try that again. Basically, I started with fourth and I switched back to third because by being wired, we think in third. To play strictly in fourth, it takes a lot of hard work, but it's something you must begin to practice slowly and slowly. So you can also explore fifth, you can explore sixth, you can explore the seventh interval. All this, by the time you finish all this, you are beginning to have a mastery of the scale. I talked about having the mastery of scale. If you want to have a mastery of a scale, you don't just play the re, fa, sol, la, si, do and just begin to learn phrases and then think you have mastered the scale. No! These are possibilities that the scale has. There are 8 notes in this scale, this particular scale that we are talking about. 7 notes and actually a duplication. I mean, do is always repeated. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, go back. So we have to explore it. So when you explore everything, that's when you can say, you know this scale. Oftentimes I say to people that, that many people can play major scale. And they think I'm unreasonable until I begin to open their eyes to see that, yes, I'm just learning how to play the major scale myself. Because there's so much that we can do with the major scale that we've not even examined. There are possibilities that there's a way you can stretch even the major scale. Even from the major scale, emanate so many modes. The minor, the medium mode is there. I mean, the dominant, the diminished. So it's the whole lot. So in understanding scales and arpeggios, so it is important that we must understand that the possibilities that are entailed in a scale is enormous. And your responsibility is to find a way to find a way to bridge all the possibilities, like climbing on a bridge and finding a way to be at that mastery level. It may take a while, because people may ask you, what are you practicing? You are not practicing phrases. In the beginning of this, I talked about what phrases is. Phrases is just it's an incomplete sentence. You want to play a solo. Solo is the entire communication that you want to pass across. And in it, you have about 5 or 4 phrases that you have practiced that you want to inculcate into that solo. So they are short sentences. In fact, they are incomplete sentences that you put in there. So it should not be the focus. The focus is the communication. What are you communicating? What you are communicating is more important than the phrases you want to play. Except the phrases are the way that they are also part of the communication. Yes, they are part of the communication stuff, but then it is very, very important that the focus is on the communication rather than trying to take leads and trying to focus on just leads alone. So let's talk about arpeggio and how you can decode it and play it effortlessly. What I'm sharing is my opinion on this, is what I've tried for myself. Let me use a major, for example. So I just try to play around. But now, if you want to learn it properly and have a mastery of this, this is what I think you can do. I'm repeating it. You can even go. While you are saying, you're the same. Okay, Mr. President has a question. I have to pause here to answer to this question.
Thank you very much. My name is, let's say my name is Mr. Paul Mabinori. Presently, I'm not the president of NTG, I'm another person. I want to learn to play solos, but I have a problem with thinking. Do I think in terms of what somebody has told me that is a chord that I see where the music is going on, or I think in terms of what I had? For me, not as Biodun Adebiyi, but as somebody that just started learning to play solos. I see people play jazz, and I see that there are chords that they play, which give them those difficult notes to play. Peradventure, is there a way I can think along the melody line and still be able to play well? Is there a hindrance or a help that my thinking can? Is it possible that when I was born with a kind of melody in me, that when I hear music, what I play will just come and I can play it? Must I follow those consequences, all those flat and sharp and all that? Must I follow them? Thank you.
Let me believe that. Don't let me see you as the one who has asked this question, like you said also. Let me just see you. Maybe you're answering for. Maybe there's a question on somebody's mind. Improvisation. It's a very controversial subject. Why do we have for? We have against. But then to go straight to be able to answer this in my capacity. For somebody who is beginning to play music and he wants to improvise, the person must understand that just the way a 5-year-old girl or a boy may not be able to articulate like me, there are reasons why a 5-year-old boy or a 7-year-old cannot articulate like a 20-year-old. There's something called time. And this time helps our cognitive to develop such that what we think is what we execute. Now, when it comes to music, maybe there are people who are born specially. Maybe there are very, very few who naturally they came with a vibe. They came with a message. But when they came here, what they came with, they came from the spirit realm. But when they came here, they have to learn the language of the men. Because musical instruments that they play, they were made by men. And anything man has created has to be learned. There's nothing a man has created that another man can use without learning. We have to learn it. We may learn by observation, and we may learn by actually going into it as apprentices. Now to answer this question, for improvisation, there is a desired sound, or there is a prevalent sound in the culture that anyone who wants to play that kind of music must adhere to. If you want to play jazz, now in the world that we live right now, one can do appropriation. You can take something from somewhere and appropriate it. You can infuse, make hybrid music. You can take something that is not part of something and add it to it, and it is embraced right now. But to go back to what I was saying, that there is a culture that you cannot deviate from. You want to play jazz, you have to understand. You have to understand chord progression. Jazz is the highest improvisational music on the surface of the earth as of now. Because it's highly improvisational. And what it does is you have to learn the rules. So what learning the rules does is that it helps you to help your cognitive to align to the knowledge base that's already on ground. So while you are learning the rules, practicing, you get to a point where you forget the rules. Then you now begin to react to sounds that you hear. You've learned the rules. Now when you now hear chord progression, you can decide to bend the rules. You can decide not to obey the rules. but you know what you are doing. You are not ignorant. Music is a discipline of highly intelligent people that requires knowledge, skill to be at that top level. So even if you want to play high life, you don't just pick up your trumpet and okay, I know maybe somebody is just learning to play. It is important to understand that there is a process that we go through to become. And there is a standard that the world has set that when you sound like this is the standard, this is the way you should sound. But if you decide that you want to play differently, I will encourage that you first learn the rules and then break the rules to create something else. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much. And I want to add to it. You have said,
okay, sir.
You have said a lot of profound things, and I totally agree with you. Let me add to it. However, what made me to ask that question is the fact that there are gifts. There are gifts, and what I mean by gift is just like in every profession. In the world today, we are seeing a lot of Chinese kids who are at the age of 7, 8, they are beginning to play concertos. And you ask yourself, a piano concerto by a 7-year-old? Where did he get the time to learn all that? You see a lot of Americans here, at the age of 5, 6, they are beginning to construct things and say, look, which science school did he attend at this age? I think the same thing is in music. I remember I read some books some years back where it was, I think it was either a book by Duke Ellington, the pianist, Miles Davis, or Hugh Masekela. There are 3 books like that that I read in their names. And in one of the books, it was mentioned that there were some guys that really couldn't read music. They were not able to read scores. But they will hear music and the kind of solos they will play, you would think that. Now, I will say exactly why I'm asking this question, because a whole lot of people have chosen not to develop the innate musicality in them. You understand? Jazz music or improvisation is not classical music where you have to learn everything that you do. Your thinking has to be according to some books. But when it comes to improvisation, especially, we can say jazz and high life are almost the same because they are backward progressions, though one is more difficult than the other. But we had a lot of fantastic, like there was a man called Papa J, a Papa J guitar player. If they give, in those days, if you are giving guitar to Papa J and guitar to George Benson to play solo to high life, believe me, you know what I'm talking about. 85% of people will prefer what Papa J will play. Papa J didn't go to any conservatory. He didn't go to any, you know, sometimes he didn't learn any theory of music. He didn't go to school like a crew. But with the kind of hearing that he has, that man will play some beautiful solos. So the idea is not to put one down for the other. The idea is to help people to develop your hearing, develop your innate musicality, and that is where listening comes in. A lot of people, can I still go ahead?
Now, I was going to interject a bit. Sorry that I have to do that. You talked about the innate ability. There's something in everybody.
Yes.
That thing that we have is suppressed by external music.
Yes.
Now, Victor Ademufe, I recognize that. from my earliest childhood. But I could not do anything about it because what I have, I cannot explain it. I have to go through the knowledge of Western music a bit, so that when I have that exposure, like somebody said, there's an acronym. There's an acronym to blossom in music. It is called DACE. DACE. D is for dream. A is for ambition. C, now your talent. And the E is exposure. Now, that exposure to existing to a methodology, something that has lived longer than your father.
Yeah.
That's already enshrined, that has become almost like a cult, like a culture. Now, understanding, I will tell you something, sir. And this is just on a. I began to go back to the medieval era and to understand what was happening immediately after the fall of Rome. That the entirety of Rome went into dark ages that lasted for over 500 and 1,000 years.
Yeah.
There was the music, and that is what gave birth to the music symbol and notation. That's what gave birth to all the organum. This is what gave birth to all the Spain chants, Gregorian chants, and on which many of these church modes, which I played, Gregorian modes, were centered around, were built upon. So anyone who wants to do something new, you are inspired, you think, man, you have inspiration.
But there's really nothing new.
You don't understand the past. You don't understand the past. You don't know that the geniuses have died. The work has already been done.
There's really nothing
new.
new.
To retrieve. There's nothing new.
There's really nothing new.
I was telling you before the show. I discovered something today that was in Uganda many centuries ago, that they were using for one of the kings of Kabaka king of Uganda. And I was like, wow, so this had happened before. But because we don't value culture, we don't like to want to read, we now live in a generation where we think we know better than the masters, because you now make more money than the masters, you have more followers than your teachers on Instagram and on Facebook. You are now having invitations to play everywhere. People are hailing you. Automatically, you think you are now a master. You only need to become 50 and 50 and realize that you've made a mockery and a mess of your life.
Yes. Other generations will come.
Mr. Batik, we've had this conversation, and you are my template. Of course, I say that to you, and I can say that on public. And many times when I come to your office as a student and laugh to you, and you sit me down and talk to me, I just imagine, okay, so when I'm 50, will I still be playing with bands? Will I still be carrying my trumpet on the streets of Lagos? Joining one bus, joining one Okada, go and play with this band. Which band will tell you what you truly worth? When there is so much in you. I said all of this to come back to what you said about innate gift. Yeah. Some people carry so much, but what you carry may never find expression until you must allow it to be, get exposed. That exposure can do two things to you. It can kill what you have, or help you to give you a template on how you can use what you have, like that. One of my teachers said something several years ago. He said, the danger of listening to music is that the external kills the internal. For some people have certain sound inside of them. Because when you listen to something over and over again, you replicate that unconsciously.
Definitely.
And when you replicate that unconsciously, you will think that is the sound. But not knowing that there's so much treasure in you that God kept there. So he recommended that you should not listen to music for a period of years. And I'm sure that even my Davis did that at a point in his life. He stopped listening to anybody's music. So to give room for that which his mind is suggesting to him. So that was what gave birth to the birth of the cool. He could go on a different path. He was so crazy with ideas. He would start something. Okay, I just want to do this. He is not defined by the existing sound. He is defined by the revealed sound. There is an existing sound and there is a revealed sound. It is only reduced to sons and daughters of God. Because music is more spiritual than it is physical.
Somebody has asked a question, please, which is in line with what we are discussing. That question is in line.
My question, sir, is how can I communicate with my solo? Play without playing many notes. This question is sent by Henning. Shout. How can I communicate with my solo without playing many notes? Let me read it again. How can I communicate with my solo without playing many notes? Okay, first I will say to you that every solo that you are playing is a form of communication. Anytime you are asked to communicate, to play solo, what they are telling you is tell us the story about the song. And the first time I heard that in my life was 2001 or 2002. I went for audition in Sonny Neji's house. So Sonny Neji asked me to play on a song. This was 21 years ago. So as a student of jazz, I started just vomiting Clifford Brown, Miles Davis, Dizzy Gillespie. Because you went for audition thinking you could impress, and you just started, fine, good. But I'm telling you, you've not said anything. You've not said anything. You've played too many notes, but you have not communicated anything. What did you say? Then it taught me that solo is storytelling. Now, as I'm talking right now, just imagine that I am, and in this analogy I want to give, I hope it answers your question. The question is just asking, while I may be saying so much, I am not communicating to you because communication is a transfer of ideas. You want to transfer your ideas to people. Your solo does not necessarily have to be with few notes, and it does not necessarily have to be plenty notes. The person you are communicating to are different per time. So a musician is a learned person who understands that this person I want to communicate to. By the temperament of this person, I think this person is an aggressive person. So if I play two notes and play a run, so that's why the cognition of a musician is actually on the, it's happening, it's active. So if you don't want to play many notes, make sure that what you are saying, you are painting a picture, or you are drawing. You are like a soundsmith. You are using sound to draw a picture, like a sound artist. You want to play on I Life Solo, and you want to create a very sad countenance, because the song is talking about Sunday. I traveled, and the person traveled and lost his entire family in an accident. And the singer just sang, Dandayo, Dandayo, everybody travel, then no come back home. Dandayo, Dandayo, everybody travel, then no come back home. And you want to play a solo on a song like that, on such a lyric. So you should understand that you have to depict the mood. And in depicting the mood, when you are sad, what do you do when you are sad? People just begin to say, Sometimes they are not even speaking. They are giving signs. I mean, words are not actually coming out to express what they are going through. So that is exactly the way you will depict your solo. Or when somebody is happy, when you are happy, when you are happy, you shout. There's no one who is sad that is shouting. When you are sad, you are quiet. Sometimes you are crying. Sometimes you are mute. You are looking, your facial expression is calm. You are looking at the one spot at the same time. You are not even winking your eyes because you are sad. So these are expressions that you can begin to put in place when you are having, when you want to communicate with your solo. Because everything you say, it is communication. You are communicating. But then the thing is, are you miscommunicating or you are having an effective communication? To have an effective communication, you must know that there is a dialogue or a conversation is built. And what you are doing is you are having a sound affair or intellectual act of love making through music to the people. You get? So while you play, you notice, okay, if you are playing on 3 songs in an event, the first song, you just watch the countenance of the people there. Okay. So how do I communicate this? Many times you have to go into yourself to communicate properly. But if you are somebody who is still struggling, you are struggling with a piece of metal that you hold, this piece of brass called trumpet, and you are unable to play. You can't play well. You can't communicate your intentions through the trumpet. It will be hard. That is why you have to examine all the possibilities. So nothing is difficult for you. At least, there are things that you may not be able to do, but to a large extent, any command you give to the instrument, you send the instrument on command. That I want you to weep. I want you to sound like a town crier. I want to kiss. And that is what has given birth to some of the things I do. Because I want to communicate something. I mean, some of the things I do are as a result of trying to communicate my personality and my intention through solos. And many of them you may have to invent them yourself. Many of them you may have to watch people who are expressive players. I mean, there is no standard for music. Yes, we can look up to America, look up to people, mentors, but the standard for music is heaven. And that is vast. That is wide. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay. I wanted to ask a question. Can you hear me, sir? Okay, so
loud and clear, sir.
In line with this question, because I'm sure there are other people who have, and I struggled with it from the beginning. How, for somebody who wants to build a colorful solo, right? He's gradually being exposed to chord progression, not necessarily the sophisticated one, maybe the basic ones, you know. How does the person start with maybe three notes? And you know, like you said, it's a gradual process. You don't expect somebody to just have it, like somebody who's learning from scratch. So what do you advise, or what technique do you use to teach people? Like, okay, start with these 3 notes, explore, expand, add another note, explore, expand within a chord progression range, so that the person can just move. Because you know what I'm saying is, a lot of people came into music like you just threw somebody who didn't know how to swim into a very deep pool. And the person starts struggling, and maybe if he doesn't make it, he quits and like, no, this is not for me. But the other patient teachers will be like, okay, take it easy, one step at a time, try this, try that. So what is your technique in conveying this kind of teaching method? Then, second, okay, answer this one, then I'll throw in the second one.
Mr. Ron, the way you people have put me on the spot today, you know, good. This is not supposed to be. I'm not putting you on the spot. Oh, you know, there are many approaches. There are many approaches, and these approaches are too diverse to recommend just one. It's too diverse to recommend one, but this is what I do, and sometimes I default. Sometimes I just enter into the playing mode. I just play. The thing has nothing. But anytime I'm very careful, what I do is a storytelling approach. or when you're writing a letter, you know, every letter has an introduction. And that introduction says, Dear Ramoye, how are you doing? How is Cape Town? Oh, I mean, and you just greetings. I mean, to familiarize, to show kind of, and the development, you enter into the point. Bah! So when you enter the point of development is when you expanded the idea, the real deal, what you want to talk about. You just start it. When you start it, and then you come back to conclusion. And many times for trumpet players, your conclusion, if you want to be memorable, your conclusion must have something similar with your introduction. Because there are two ingredients in music that are important. One is repetition and another is contrast.
I will add to this.
So repetition is very key.
When you finish, I want to add to this.
All right, sir. Repetition is very key, that if you just play, and what you are playing does not repeat itself, it is very likely that people will not remember anything you've done. That is why those who, the Western approach of composing songs, you always have, there's something called musical forms. For those who studied music, or for those who are studying music, they understand what the form is, from the binary to the ternary, I mean, till it gets to the rondo and all of those parts. It is important to understand that when you start something, you initiate it again for remembrance sake. So when you take any song, for example, which song can I take? Like maybe many of us are church people. Let me take a song.
Oh, okay. I think he's having a little problem with his network. So, Mr. President, you can throw your...
Yeah. Now I want to ask I want to give a bit of, I want to throw some light to the question the guy asked about solo play. Now, my approach to solo playing, and from what I've heard some great people play, is first of all, you have to be economical with your words. You must be able to use few words to explain too many things. It's not like you want to tell a story. You want to tell a story, other than writing or in speaking. Somebody can speak for 15 minutes and it has not made any sense. It can speak for 15 minutes and people are still saying, what point is he trying to make? And somebody, within the first two sentences, he has said everything possible. The first two sentences of speaking, he has said too many things already. I think you must be able to think in such a way of summing up whatever you want to say. As a teacher, you get to the class in front of the students, you are going to teach them a particular topic. The statement you make in the first two sentences will either make those students to want to continue listening to you or to just say this one is empty. And once you are not able to grab attention within the first 2 sentences that you are making, you have lost that class. Every teacher will tell you that when you are going to the class to teach, your preparation is to grab the attention as early as possible. The moment you lose that attention, nobody wants to listen to you again. And that's how it is with solo playing. You hear music, you want to play solo to it. Believe me, your approach as you're entering that solo will want people to either want to listen to you or change the channel or remove that thing and put another music. So it is not as in the number of notes that you play, it's not as in how fast you play, it's not as in how slow you play, it's not as in how high you play or the number of chords you know how to play. But it is about what do you have, as Victor said, what do you want to convey, how do you want to convey it, and within the shortest time, how you grab attention and let people want to listen to you. For some of us that have played in studios to so many records, some of the recordings that we play, some studio engineers that already knew us when we get to the studio, they just say, oh, Biodun, just play something. He knows that by the time he tells me that Biodun, okay, listen to the music, oh yeah, let's record solo, ready, record. I may play like about 4 times and I'm not satisfied with what I played because of that consciousness. Where I get the best is when the engineer can say, okay, can you do your sound check? Let me hear what you want to play. Can you feel something with the music? That is natural. That's when I do that's when I made the best solos that I've ever made. You understand? So it has to do with your consciousness to, within a few words, you want to push that thing across. Most of the solos that we hear that sell records, that if you play those music, you have not played the record. If you don't play those solos, people will bring you back. One of them is Joromi. Tan 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 tan. Those notes, if you count them, they are not up to 6. Yeah.
May I interject? Do you know that now that you're saying it, the most memorable solos are the simplest ones? Like
they are the simplest ones. Thank you.
Very simple, like any solo you remember. I challenge anybody.
They are the simplest ones.
Any solo you remember in your brain now, they are usually the simplest notes. Maybe 5 major.
Tino Peter's recording. Tino Peter's recording. There is nothing extraordinary about those solos. There is nothing extraordinary about those solos. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Now, still talking about buttressing the point that you made, that while you are sound checking, you make the best sound. And so maybe there are few people here also who they'll go to studio and the engineer is not, or the producer is not satisfied with their solos after the take. And this has happened to me, and it still happens to me. I think that the moment you know that you are being recorded, something kicks in. It's called consciousness. And that consciousness of doing it well, the body has a memory. The body has or the brain has a way of resetting things.
Consciousness.
So when you are not, you are just freestyling. Beautiful idea comes to you, except you are somebody who has passed through the process that your thinking faculty musically.
Go ahead.
As has entered into a realm where you are now a master of your thoughts. Now, Mr. Patrick talked about simple solos. The simple solos are the hardest to create. They are the hardest solos to create because they are so hard. I don't want to play something big. I mean, I've done to record for someone, and I wanted to create a memorable solo. You know what the producer said? No, I just want bebop. I want bebop. Play bebop fast. Play like Talifaka. I want something on a song that does not require such. But because it is not my song, he has employed me to do that job. I have to do what he wants. Because the producer himself has not been baptized. He has not gone through immersion. He's still thinking like an instrumentalist. He's not thinking like a problem solving producer. Because music is like a medicine that solves people's problems. Of course, if you ask the pharmacist that paracetamol, what are the composition of paracetamol, and it begins to tell you what it takes to create paracetamol, you will not use paracetamol. If you hear grammar, this nothing that I just buy for 100 naira, because it is not useful. You don't need the information. What you need is, I have a headache, I have body pain, I use Panadol Extra, I am okay. So also music can be like that. So who cares whether you play phrases? Who cares whether you play high? What is the effect that this music has on me? When I listen to this music, does it make me sleep? When I listen to this music, does it make me closer? Does it steer a passion to want to pray? Does it want to make me walk? I mean, for those who are very observant and those who understand a bit of antiquity music, you will understand that there's something called walk song. When people are going to the farm to go and cut grass, sometimes they employ musicians to be there. While musicians are playing, they are cutting to the rhythm of the music. Whether those ones are playing, they are using the cutlass like that. So they can cut the grass for 3 hours. They will not be tired because they are cutting the grass to the rhythm of the song. That's why they call it walk song. Sometimes if they don't employ musicians, they can be the ones singing themselves. And that's why you hear a lot of people when they are in the bedroom or when they are washing clothes, they sing. While they are singing, I mean, they don't even know that they've washed for over 1 hour. Because it's like, it's a release. So music is not just for fashion. It's not just for show. Music is not for, it's not competition. Music complements. So I hope that answers the question, and some people would also have this question. I mean, for trumpet playing, it is nice. Learn everything you can learn. Learn how to play well. You know, for a child that is crawling, you don't teach that child how to run. If the child begins to walk, he can run. But what many of us do is that we have not learned how to crawl. Why we started taking one leg like this? Instantly you want to start flying. You want to fly.
Mr. Moderator.
You want to do magic.
Mr. Moderator.
You want to be in the big board.
Mr. Demofe.
Yes, sir.
I want to beg that when we're still going to have a session like this by the grace of God. I said something when I had my class. I said, we are going to find a way of doing concert. We are going to invite 1 or 2 or 3 people to play, to make presentation. Especially those that have bands that can set up studio for us and then perform there. We are going to have concerts. We are going to put, and at the same time, we are going to have this discussion again, but we are not going to have it on StreamYard. We put everybody on YouTube. Sorry, on Zoom, so that people can interject. I know that people want to talk. There are a lot of people that want to contribute, but they cannot talk. That's why they're writing. We are going to have, so everybody, by the time we have like about 50 or 60 people that we are looking at ourselves, we can interject. We are going to have a more robust discussion. Because what we are
Yes,
doing
sir.
is we are looking at some of these issues from our personal how it appeals to us. And of course, there is no hard and fast rule about once you know
True, sir.
the correct thing that's supposed to do, whichever way, you will read so many people that will tell you the kind of mouthpiece you use enhances your play. Some will tell you take any like I don't see the kind of mouthpiece that I will use and how bad the mouthpiece they are going to give Winton Marsalis to use that are able to play better than him. No matter, even if he doesn't use any mouthpiece at all, with ordinary hand like this, if you blow trumpet better than me, you understand? There are so many schools of thought. So we'll be able to hear some other people too. Be able to hear angle because I know that a lot of people have those boys that you are seeing, those boys in their 20s, late 20s and early 30s, and even teenagers. Some of them have learned things that I've not had before. Some of things know things that you and I do not know. Some of them know a lot of things that they have seen, that have met some teachers, that have read some books, that have listened to some music, that have been under some trainings, so that all of us can benefit. When we want to have this again, it's going to be on Zoom, so everybody can talk. Playing too. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I thought today were to allow anybody who wanted to come in to jump in, since today was a review day. It escaped my mind
Yes.
when I was speaking with Mr. Demofe. Because if anybody feels like, because since we are not, this is not like a presentation. If anybody has a question and it feels like jumping in for today, just today, do you think we should allow them on?
Yes, let's bring them in.
Okay, an announcement. You can't comment from Facebook today. Just a slight technical glitch. So if you want to watch and enjoy the viewing experience, just go to YouTube. Send all your comments and your questions from YouTube, just like others have been doing. I will post what's the name? I'll post the link, the StreamYard link on the comment section of YouTube. I'll pin it there so that
you actually can come into the studio like us. We can see you. You can contribute. You can play. You can ask questions. You can answer.
And how many minutes do we have left?
Sorry?
How many minutes do we have left,
sir? We have a whole 47 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. For 30 minutes, you can have people. We can have people with us. Are you going somewhere, Victor?
So while we are waiting for people to join, sir?
Are you leaving? Are you leaving? Are you going somewhere?
No, I was going to attend to my family. They are here. They came to me. But it's all right.
No problem. While the question is going on, we can be holding forth for you. But you are the one in charge today.
It's all right. No problem, sir.
Mm.
So while we are waiting for the questions and people to join, so I explained earlier that we have done 9 editions of this webinar. I mean, if you have questions that bothers you on any of the topic, a trumpet player as a worship leader, the foundation of trumpet playing, scales and arpeggio, organizational management. We also have, what have we done again? We've talked about tone matters, and then the prospect of a trumpet player. Some of them, we have had them twice. So we have done these 9 editions. If you have any question on these, and there may be anything related to this, we will appreciate. Because this is our focus. We are having a review of what we have done in the last 9 weeks.
Okay. So I've posted the link already. So if you're watching from the comment section, you'll see the link. So if you're watching and you want to come on, you can click the link and join. I posted the stream yet. So, I wanted to, after we spoke yesterday, a couple of people reached out and they were very excited about the prospect of trumpet playing. We had an extensive discussion about opportunities, you know, and I forgot to add something. While I was speaking last week, I said something in the neighborhood of if that you don't have to fight and compete over the space. You can always create something new, which make you a unique player. Like trying to play from pick up something from your indigenous culture, develop it and play it on trumpet, which nobody can compete with you because you are digging this thing from your soil. It's coming from your roots. There's also a sector that trumpeters are not taking advantage of. Now, this is a motion picture, movie production. If you notice that anytime you need to emphasize or embellish emotions in movies, you know, make it strong, you at some point you will have to use strings or horns. If something grand is happening, you see that they have these horn sections that they got these horn sections that plays with, I don't know whether sometimes they mix it up with French horn, trombone, but they create this grand or majestic sound when they are trying to get to something that is to elevate people's emotion. Then when they want to make people start, there's a way they also play the horn, they'll vibrato, they play a lot of vibrato and depressing. Maybe they play it in minor. I don't know how they do it, but it sounds very, very depressing. Then and they usually do this with either horns or strings. So I'm now thinking that the space is still there in Nigeria. Is it not a brilliant idea for young trumpeters to start, touching this emotional aspect of movie production? Because these days you don't need to have a full orchestra to deliver that punch. You can actually use technology to multiply parts and go to the studio, multiply your parts, and it's set. So I don't know if you can add to it, because it's just another thing I forgot to mention last week.
Mr. Ron, what you have said is correct. It was a thought on my mind yesterday, in line with orchestration. It's a beautiful idea that if anyone understands it, it will be a long time for you to go out of business. Because many people who are doing it are not skilled. They don't really understand it. And because they can't find many people who will go through the rigor and the process of learning how to use it and do it to an international standard, those guys will keep being in business. I mean, Terence Blanchard, who is one of the finest trumpet players of all time, is a team pro. I mean, he does crew scoring a lot, and that's where he makes majority of his income from. If he just plays, maybe he goes to play with his band or plays with Abbey Hancock. No, because when somebody is growing, even if you're one of the finest trumpet players in the world and you make your money through touring, if you have health challenge, whether you have a partial stroke and you cannot really walk and you cannot even be in the plane, you can't sit on a spot for 8 hours, traveling around the world becomes a problem. So it means that your financial income will be handicapped. So having the skill of understanding technology, music technology, how you can use, I mean, you don't want to go into production to just go and learn how to do it. You have to go into production to learn many things. Because when people need you, they won't only need you to do that sound. you need you to also do some other things. So it is a body of knowledge that is needed in this time. Well, I am small, at least I try to record myself, my ideas in the house, but I'm not fully into music production because I have a whole lot, apart from music, that I do. So, and I can't put that, I can't sacrifice that time now. But I can recommend that it's something that one has to look into, because right now the world is changing. If somebody even wants you to record for them, they'll send the song to you. Please record the song for me. Play this line, papa, send it back. You'll be asking them which studio. They'll tell you record it, because they expect that in this day and age you should have a studio in your house. So things have changed. So Mr. Ron, what you have suggested and what you have brought up is, it's a very beautiful thing. However, it may not be the actual trumpet sound. Many times these sounds are taken from the keyboard, grabbed from the keyboard. They use this, except those who do it in advanced countries that they want it live.
Wait, as keyboard sounds like MIDI, what they call it? Have these sounds, all these MIDI sounds, have they advanced to the point whereby you play trumpet on the keyboard and it sounds like? Because at the end, I always know it's not real trumpet.
Technology has advanced. If I record for somebody today, yes, there's a way you can capture my sound and use that my sound to do every other song that you want.
Yeah, but you usually catch them from the transition of notes. And that's where the problem usually comes. In fact, that has always been the challenge. You can get the actual horn sound, everything, a particular player sound. But the problem is, over time, when you are moving from one note to the other, somebody who's a trumpet player will know.
And because you say somebody who is a trumpet player will know, those that they are spelling the thing for, and two, are not trumpet players.
Okay, you have a point.
If they are not trumpet, they are consumers.
I understand what you are saying. I understand what you are saying, really. I understand what you are saying.
Let me land. The reason why I'm bringing this up, there's this song that they play every Independence Day in Nigeria by Fumi Adams. Nigeria, my beloved country. Very powerful song, very instructive. However, the only thing that messed it up was the keyboard horns they played on it. And I'm wondering that after all these years, the ladies...
Excuse me, sir. What you had there was trumpet and flugelhorn played by me.
Wait,
what you had there was trumpet, flugelhorn played by me, and tenor saxophone played by this guy that owned jazz. I forgot my capo. Three of us. I was one that played the horn with my flugelhorn, trumpet. It is not stimulated. It's live horns. I played it.
No, I mean the sound. Something was.
I played it. I played that. I played it, not keyboard. I was one that played it. 1989. In 1989.
You need to go and listen to it again. You said that something went wrong.
Let me tell you what happened. The engineer then was the guy that later became, engineer then was Diran Olaojo-Igbe. Diran Olaojo-Igbe was just learning himself and Johnson that died just 2 years ago. Diran, Johnson, and your Bankole also was there. They were the ones they were the engineers. And then technology was just coming out. So what they did was that they tried to add, I don't know if they tried to add keyboard or something to it, but we played that thing live. That wasn't the only song that I played. There was another one. Nemo, da 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 hey. Nemo, da 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 wo. Nemo, da 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 da. Chukudiko shatu da 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 na. These are the two songs that we played horns to. So it was live on small keyboard.
But I think what they did, because and it's good I brought it up today so that you look into it. I think what they did, either because the one that is released now that everybody plays is the keyboard version. If you think I'm joking, Google it.
Maybe they released it, but the one we played, that was played for several years, it was sourced. Maybe what they did was that the compression, maybe it was too compressed.
I wanted to, I didn't even know you were the one, because I was
not that played this.
For 2 years, I've always wanted to complain to you about it, that can't you convince them to play the horns on it now? No,
it was live trumpet. It was live horns. What happened was, I think it was the compression. I think they compressed it too much.
Oh.
It was live, I think it was compression.
Very beautiful tune. I love that tune.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Somebody played a session in 1989. When I see the baby. My goodness.
I was still in primary school planning But sorry, sir. I know I like taking you to history. Was there an embargo on instruments at some point, like horns, trumpets, in Nigeria? Was there ever an embargo, like the importation of musical instruments? Because I need to be very sincere, because there's a difference. Okay.
I will tell you. You see, I will tell you this off camera. Yes, there was something like that. There was one elder statesman, high life singer,
I know the person
that was selling instruments that made sure that government put embargo on bringing in music so that he could sell his own. It happened.
Wow.
It happened. But I don't want to mention names here. You understand? I don't want to mention names here. After I will tell you this.
I personally feel that all the recordings that were done from the late 70s up until the mid 90s need to be done again this time around with the new technology of capturing the live sounds, because a lot of the tunes are beautiful, melodic, but when you listen to them, we don't have a culture of preserving data.
The problem, I tell you, most of those, the home players played well. It's recorded in Nigeria. Do you know that I've taught many people? I'll give an example. If you listen to recording by one man called Bayadebo in Ibadan those days, Bayadebo Iga's recording those days, àtàyèrò wá ó àmì bẹ̀bẹ̀ gbogbo wá ló máa fojúsọ́nà ọ̀rọ̀ ayé màmí fàdúrà. The man that I didn't play the trumpet in that, but the one after that, I was the one that played the trumpet. If you listen to the trumpet in that recording, it's extremely annoying. Our mom, Dr. Stephen Adeoye, played trumpet there. You will hear that trumpet and you'll be so angry because the engineers in those days, they didn't know how to make horns. That's why if you listen to fantastic horns lines of musicians like Sonny Okosun, you will see one name. You see Steve Tone Horn Company. They always record their horns abroad. Not only you hear this man, he died 2 years ago. Epifanio's horns, if you hear those beautiful horn lines, they were recorded abroad. Sonny Okosun, Epifanio, those beautiful horns that you hear, they recorded them abroad. Even leader sisters, they bring their own players here or they record them. All those ones that were recorded in Nigeria, they were too compressed. They were so compressed in such a way that the way the trumpet will be sounding, you'll be angry. That's why before Fela will play, if you see Fela on stage, you first of all see him behind the mixer. He will first of all by himself make sure that he regulate the horns, because our engineers, even till now, you play in churches, you tell engineer you want to play with the mute, he will say no, it will be too loud. He will either turn the microphone off It's a problem with engineering and sound. You understand? Our engineers, they only know about talking drum. Look, if you go to play outside, they can use 2 hours to balance only talking drums. They just say, they see that trumpet, don't worry, trumpet, you don't even need microphone. Meanwhile, it is not true. There are microphones that are basically meant for the brass. But for talking drum, oh, they can use 2-3 hours to balance. Give me bass, give me leading. Bang, 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 it's not enough. Give me top, give me. But trumpet player, just play one song. You don't need just volume. That's all you need. It's not like that. You understand? So that is, I think, what the problem is. Our engineers, our sound engineers, they understand nothing about. Well, saxophonists are trying to do better now, but trumpets are the worst. Trumpets are the worst. When they want to miss your trumpet, so it's not the fault of trumpet players. The players were very good. It was the sound engineer then.
Okay. Let's talk a bit about the trumpet as a worship leader. Since we've not had anybody to join the conversation, I mean, Mr. Ron, Professor Batik, what do you think is one of the major challenges why trumpet players have not broken even in the worship ministry? Is it lack of gift, lack of anointing?
Gift. I think it has a lot to,
it's not lack of anointing. I will tell you that there are so many trumpet worship leaders that we have. There are so many worship leaders in trumpet. The only thing is just that the people that popularized those, and I will say that for saxophone, there are so many of them. But for the trumpet, everybody is looking towards Phil Driscoll. Even Nathaniel Bassey is looking Phil Driscoll. And I don't know why it's that. Honestly, I really can't put my finger on it. I can't put my finger on it. Maybe trumpet to play as a worship instrument is too demanding. Maybe it's because it's too demanding. The level at which Phil put it is too demanding. You see that even Nathaniel Bassey is more of a singer than a trumpet player. A lot of people do not know Nathaniel Bassey as a trumpet player. They know him as a singer.
A lot of people don't know he actually plays.
They know him that he's they don't know him as a trumpet player. They know him as a singer. And most even Goke Bajowa is not really known as a trumpet player. He's known more as a singer. You understand? So I think it has to do with the use of the trumpet itself. The use of the trumpet itself to produce that kind of it's not the level at which Phil took it is too high. You have to be a trained classical player and a very good player before you can actually survive as a worship trumpet player. That's a lot of trumpet players end up singing.
I think another thing I noticed was even in my humble beginnings, when I was always asking Nathaniel, I found out that people like him, they keep practicing for like in a day, maybe 6 hours, right? And this is not performance, this is just practice. And you find anytime I call him, he's complaining about his neck, his back, his shoulders, he's exhausted. And this is because he's playing at a very high level, like Mr. President says. I remember that Phil Driscoll always wants to have this heraldic effect whenever he's playing. He plays in a heraldic way, and at the same time, I don't know, is it reverb or echo? Where he plays, and the thing is like, he's one of the few trumpeters I know can control it. Reverb, yeah. Now, it sounds like it's a nice thing to do. Trust me, if you don't know how to control reverb, you cannot do it. It's not just, you can't just pick up your own and set up your mixer and start doing reverb. You need to understand.
Romoye, Ron, I was forced to actually study, to actually read about Fidisco. Do you know that Fidisco was actually a better player than Arturo Sandoval many years back? He was a much better player. There was a time that on the face of this earth, there was nobody that was better than Fidisco in trumpet playing. He was actually a rock trumpet player. He was one of the first rock players and classical music. I read a lot because here, you know, there are a lot of materials that they show on TV. I watched things about they said now he's not even playing trumpet again. And in those days, there was nobody that could play like him. His multi-thumping was wow. His speed, the ornaments that he did on the trumpet those days. You understand? You know, he actually recorded some rock albums before he became a Christian. He actually recorded some serious rock musician on the trumpet. So now that the man is now a Christian, he uses all that. And these are things that not ordinary trumpet player can do. Most of those things you had, they were not done with effect. They were done physically by him on the trumpet. Some of these things he did them, he played ordinary trumpet as if he was playing piccolo trumpet. They were not piccolo trumpet, they were B-flat trumpets that he used.
I'm not talking about the pitch, oh. I'm not speaking about his pitch. I'm talking about you see it there on stage that there's actually a pedal for the effect.
Yes.
Once he kicks it in, right? Even though he's playing reverb, if you don't know what you are doing, you cannot do it. It's like
that's what I'm saying now.
He knows the millisecond and everything. An other player cannot do it.
Yeah.
And he will do it in such a way that you think you're in F.
Yes.
You know, it has taken him many years to build a sound of his own. He understands that trumpet can be an aggressive instrument if he doesn't create an ambience to it. So what Fidisco has created, guys, I'm on the phone. What Fidisco has created is basically an ambience that anytime he plays, especially when he plays high. I tried scoring him one time, and I realized that he was playing the IIC. And the thing is sounding as if it's higher than the IIC. I mean, by ear.
The kind of trumpet the kind of trumpet he was playing, the size of the bell again. The size of the bell and the size of the trumpet itself. You know, there are some trumpets that they are not really very big trumpets. So when you play, they are the same B-flat trumpet. But when you play them, the way they be sounding, they be compact and it sounds as if it is too high. Many times I've heard some pitches too that some people play. Yeah. And when he said this very, but by the time I took my trumpet and I played, so this is just what the person played. It happens. It happens.
Yes, exactly that. But you know, the question I asked this question because
you know there are cheat mouthpieces now. You know,
okay.
I saw it. Who remembers when we were young? These little girls' dolls or rubber ducky where you squeeze it. They are read inside.
Yes.
They are trying putting it in some trumpet mouthpiece. Yes, I heard it. Yeah, I was watching it on Google YouTube last year, and this guy was just playing. I was just like, oh God, these people are talented. And the guy just removed the buzzer. He said, "There's read inside." And I was just laughing. If you see the way he was performing, I think he was not generating that high pitch. Well, technology and innovation is catching up anyway. Sorry, Mr. Victor, you were saying something. I just added that.
Yes. Is nobody joining? Are they backstage in the show or?
We'll soon round up. That's why we're just doing all these extra talks. Oh, okay. Somebody said he has seen it too.
So I was going to talk about
this. Yeah, you saw it. Yeah. It was so funny.
Talking about a trumpet player, and I think one of the challenges and the reason I ask this question is because many people are trying hard to be heard. They are trying so hard to make an impression in the church.
Practice.
And as much as they are trying, I just pray that they will not soil their hand in trying to look for fame. You see, with gospel, for those who are listening to me who desire to want to be a minister, yes, even if God has not called you, I know that God does not reject volunteers. But it is God who reveals. As much as I ask the question that, so why is it that trumpet players have not really broken through? Yes, I just asked it casually because that's the way as humans we see things. But in the scheme of things spiritually, it is God who reveals people. I mean, God reveals people. And as trumpet players also, we must be prepared. We must be prepared. Many people see Nathaniel Bassey as, as a standard because it's popular and God is using him. Yes, Nathaniel was my teacher, and I can say categorically that I have many teachers, almost at the same time. It was one of the finest teachers that I had. But then, I said it earlier, no man is a standard for music on earth. Heaven is the standard. In fact, if you want to use a man as a standard, this one is a standard now Lucifer. And no one sees him. A man that was walking, the Bible says that when he walks, it's a walking music. It's a symphony. That is the standard. If you must copy anything, copy the heaven standard. Because what is applicable for a generation may not be applicable for the next generation. A time is coming in this country, you may be shocked that what it will take to be popular may be to play jazz. Anything can happen. There may be a switch. Whether you want to play soft, play slow, just make sure you learn well. It requires that you don't have to play fast. I mean, you will not do any stress. If it requires that you have to play fast, you want to switch. I mean, I've not played jazz in a long time. I mean, when I say jazz, I don't mean jazz of one progression or jazz of Mr. Magic that is just going la 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 re. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking of straight ahead jazz that has progression that is moving modally. And he has moved to another key, and you are looking for the tonal center. Something that will cause you to be thinking per time. That if you miss it, you've missed the progression. You will have to wait. I've not practiced it for a long time because I stopped playing with some bands, and I mean also I already have what I'm doing. But then I just wanted to the last week just try to play over something, play over a progression. And I realized that you see something about this trumpet is when you leave it, it leaves you. In fact, it leaves you faster than you gain it. So, Mr. Ron, there's a question. Maybe you read it out for somebody.
Okay, yes.
Somebody a question.
I am needed. Tijani is asking, please, what is the difference between those foreign trumpets and ours? Okay, let me quickly answer before I throw it to you. Now, okay, now, I'm not sure when you say ours, I don't know how many locally manufactured manufactured trumpets we have in Nigeria. That's to answer it in one way. Then what I'm also thinking you're asking is that between foreign and our trumpeters. Now, if that's the case, if it's between foreign and our local trumpeters, the problem is tone. Tone. People who play outside Nigeria before they pick up the trumpet and play anything, they dedicate time to their long tones and try to develop a very, very pleasant tone. One of the problems we have back home is that somebody just picks up the trumpet. Maybe I'm not downing anybody, or maybe he joined a vocals band, or he just picked up the trumpet in the church and starts playing. And over time, maybe the person could play keyboard before or guitar, so he has knowledge about notes. Then all of a sudden, you transfer the skill to the trumpet, which is good, but the trumpet is a tone instrument. It's the sound first has you need to get your tone right first before you start doing anything. It doesn't matter what you play, what you jump, how, your speed, your dexterity. If your tone is not right, you will know the person is playing like a Nigerian. If the tone is right, you see that you find that the person has dedicated enough time to long tones in order to develop that sound, that tonal sound. If you don't get it right, in fact, my advice to you as a trumpeter is better you play only melodies with nice tones, just like me, than for you to go and be trying to impress people with your dexterity without good to it will be irritating people's ears. So I think that's if that's the question, that's the difference. It's just these people outside Nigeria are not magicians. They are not spirits. All they did was they dedicated time to long tones. That's it. Sorry, Mr. Victor. I think you can also throw in more light.
Okay, Mr. Ron, thank you so much. You've actually said it, but let me just add by saying that the question this person has asked our immediate Tijani. So what's the difference between the foreign trumpet and ours? Okay, let me believe that. Let me answer it verbatim, the way it is. The foreign trumpet, talking about construction of the trumpet, we don't have. We are only imitators. Or we are only expressing the works of other people. On that note, okay, when we talk about, if I now flip the question to artistry, that what's the difference between foreign trumpeters or foreign trumpet players and us when it comes to artistry? It is first their creation. So anything you create and you name, you understand. It was imported to us. And when it was imported to us, they only sent a manual, which is fingering chart. Beyond the fingering chart, there is a production, sound production, and the knowledge that is required to produce the sound at the optimal level, which many did not learn well. But some of our fathers, before everything became very polluted, we had good horn players in this country. Many of whom traveled, who studied, many people talk about the Peter King, the Fela Kuti. I mean, even was on this, the trumpet player, I don't remember his name. When I remember, many of them traveled to go study. So when they came with that culture, and those that they trained also caught it. But after a while, the thing began to depreciate. It began to depreciate. So the third aspect that I want to talk about with your question is the cultural aspect. When Dr. Cynthia was speaking, she talked about how environment affects your sound. You see, as individuals, your trumpet sound is an extension of your voice. This is very true. Our trumpet sound is an extension of our voice. Because our makeup from our oral cavity, to airflow, how we use our air, the type of lips that we have, because it's not the same, we cannot produce the same sound. And as Nigerians, or as a Yoruba person, when Sintekara was talking about it, I didn't know that something like that also existed with them. And she was saying that the French people had a particular kind of sound. The American people had a particular kind of sound. So I began to understand that as Western Africans, there is a particular kind of sound because of our speech. Our trumpet sound is an extension of our voice. It is connected to our language, to our intonation. The best of us, that people say, oh, this guy gets tone. Check him out. It sounded like he's brown. It sounded like somebody. When they say this guy gets tone, it sounded like somebody. That's caricature of someone. Which is not bad. You get what I'm saying? Say, man, this guy is tone. I mean, that's my opinion. I may be wrong, and that's what I've observed. But we have our sound. So the difference is that they learn, they understand. There's a proper way to learn. They learn because they want to know. We learn because we want to impress people. And we want to make money. Why? It's not that they also learn to know and to make money from it. But the motive, I think, is the reason why we have not transmitted correct trumpet artistry to the next generation properly. Mr. Ron, we have another question.
Okay, so we have run out of time. Let me just add this. Most trumpets sold in Alaba international market are not up to the standard of a properly crafted student trumpet from Europe or even Japan. Yeah, you're right. I think there are a lot of imitations they're going on out there, but you're correct. So let me add one more thing so that you can just quickly round up. See, this issue of what they call it, the trumpet sound is so important that you need to understand that when you hit a keyboard on the piano, it has the tone is already set. You know what is coming out of it. When you string a guitar that is well connected, you already know what's to come out of it. But for a trumpet, not only would you play, you have to generate the sound exactly as it's supposed to sound. Now, I'm not saying that everybody will sound exactly identical. Remember, it's a voice instrument, but there's a standard to how you should sound. That tone, once you get it right, anytime people hear it from afar, they enjoy it. It sounds very soothing. So that's all I wanted. I think we've already exceeded our time. Where's Mr. President? Is he still there? Mr. President? Okay. Mr. Victor, you can just round up so that I can just log out before.
Sorry, please. I've started another meeting, please. I've started another meeting.
No problem, bro. We'll take it.
No, okay.
So, Mr. Victor, so just round up in a minute so that I can sign up.
So thank you so much, everyone who has participated in this, and for those who will still watch this much later, our appreciation goes to our president, Mr. Adebiyi aka Batik. Our appreciation goes to our host, Apostle Ron Moye, supported by Pastor Janine Olulani, who I know is somewhere around the corner. My appreciation goes to the entire training department, with Dr. Olani Kunuji Jumbo Ani, Olabi Julius, who has not heard from in a while, but it's part of the. And Pastor also, and to all the members of the ESCOs, to our secretary, Mr. Prestige, to everyone doing one or two things, to Anu Ashaoye and to the graphic design team. Everyone is doing a wonderful job. Thank you so much. For everyone who has been part of this webinar from the day 1 to the 10th edition, thank you, because we appreciate that. If there are no audience, I mean, we are only talking to ourselves. And the essence of this is to be able to impact the knowledge we have, and we can also share ideas, and we learn from one another. Understand that music is a divine and is a communicative gift, and we have expressions. My expression will be different from yours. So we have a collaboration and a conversation where we can both learn from one another. No one has monopoly of knowledge when it comes to music. We all have something, and what we all have is important for one another. So I say thank you to everyone. So also thank you to all our facilitators from day 1, to Pastor Jimmy, to Mr. Akindo, to Anu Ashaoye, to Mr. Emmanuel Ajayi, to Mr. Sherry Clegg, to Cynthia Karen, and to Dr. Lana Kumiji, to our president. Thank you so much. So we'll come your way next week, and next week don't miss it. We are having Taiwo Jesse next week, and it's going to blow your mind. Taiwo Jesse is another fantastic trumpet player, man, super trumpet player. I mean, I've known him for many years now. I mean, he will be talking on skills and arpeggio. I hope he will not reject to teach, because he's the one on schedule. I think it's working right now, so I'm just giving him right now to know that you are the one teaching, so get prepared. So thank you so much, everyone. So we'll meet again this time next week. We appreciate you for your time. God bless you all again.